Be working with Castor again today with some feet lifting and picking out. So I did do some work between this where I just kind of picked a little bit with the hoof pick and I couldn't find that footage, but while I'm talking about it, like I did do another step in there. So I didn't just go from having his foot held up to just picking it out. I had the just like one pick with the hoof pick or like one little kind of scoop, I guess. And then I built that up and I just couldn't find that footage, but I did do that. So I'm making sure that hoof lift is nice and good and I'll hold it for about 10-second duration and then I'll start like doing the one little scoop with the hoof pick, click feed, and then two scoops, click feed, and then continuing on. So that's kind of the process. And if your horse is worried by the first one, don't continue and add more. Just stay on that one. And then I have been doing some leg stretches, like stretching forward, just so his legs are maneuverable and it's not just pick them up and hold them here. I'm going to bend it to the side, I'm going to hold it forward, I'm going to pull it, put it on things. So he's just kind of getting ready for the farrier. And I'm clicking while his leg is in my hand and outstretched. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm trying to get him prepped for the farrier and just basic stuff because he does need his feet done. So I kind of throw in a couple other things here. He backs off my hand pressure nicely. Like he kind of was a little confused there in the beginning, but I'm not pushing a lot. I'm just light touch there and I'm just going to wait until he figures it out. And he didn't get scared or anything. So he just figured it out. If your horse is getting scared, then we're just going to have to show them in a different way. And that might be using a target or halter instead. But Castor did pretty good with that. So I did the same thing on the other side that day. I'm just going to show you a different day here um, because the day before's video I was facing the other way, so you couldn't really see me. You'd have to look like I was on the other side, and I should have turned Castor so that we could have seen it. But it's basically the same that I'm doing this here on the next day, is having his foot and picking it out. So you can tell here that he's not quite ready for that amount of holding because he's moving around. So I should probably go back a step and same thing here when he really snaps that hoof up. That's not what I want. I want nice and slow, relaxed, not snapping and pulling and doing quick things. And that's can be a sign of tension as well, is that he's a little bit worried. That's so much better. So I held it for a second, let him pick it out. He lets me pick it out. See, again, I'm going too long because he's starting to move here. So I should have clicked before he moved and then tried again and went back to building up that time there. But I think what happens a lot for me is I get focused on like, oh, I'm doing this task. Like I want him to pick out the foot and finish picking out the foot. And I'll get stuck in like my negative reinforcement ways and I'll just like hold it until he stops. But I have to change that for positive reinforcement. I need to build it back up, not just hold him and then release when he's quiet. He's just not ready for that step. So lots of growing on that part I have to keep doing. So but I'm just gonna fast forward through this a little bit. Again, I'm just letting him chew and hang out for a second. Good for him to take a break and just hang out. And it just like he happened to have like a bigger treat, so I just let him hang out and chew that for a bit before I start again. If you are feeding like smaller treats, you can just like if he does something really nice, you can just give him a jackpot and then continue on. Just kind of breaks it up a little bit. So I like to do that, or a little bit of hand grazing, something like that. Just gonna stretch his foot forward. He's pretty good at that. Ideally, I would like him to keep that foot forward. He likes to bring it back underneath himself, so that's something I could shape as well. And then him holding it forward for longer times and then on something. So I kind of put all the foot videos together, just kind of show where his progress is. And I just kind of use my mounting block as like somewhat of a little like hoof stand. So I'm just letting his toe rest on there. I'm clicking and then I'm going to go ahead and feed him. So what I really need to invest in is the actual hoof stand because I have to be careful with this. I don't want him to flail around and like get his foot in this. But I'm just resting it on that first step, so he should be fine. Because I'm pulling it out to where like that's the end of his range. So he just the obvious thing would be for the horse to pull his leg back, not really forward, because he can't really. It's already outstretched. But do be careful if you're doing that. It probably would work a little bit better if you were using just a plastic mounting block where it doesn't have that hole in it. So that's just something to think about. I do need to buy a hoof stand and work on that. Or you could use like an overturned bucket, something like that would work too if you, because they're a little bit pricey too, but I'll probably end up using a bucket because I think that's going to be a little bit easier than this and it's a little bit lower, so I'm not pulling his leg up quite so high. But that's kind of my progress here is just kind of picking up from a different angle, having him stretch it forward, letting me place it and hold it, and I kind of held it there for him. That was perfect, and he put a little bit of weight on it. That was really nice. So I did the same thing on the other side. I just didn't show it, so this video wasn't super long, but I'm really happy with his progress.